Strap yourself in, kids, this is going to be a big one. So, I don't normally do this kind of video, like reviews on films or anything, but I've just came back from my second viewing of The Last Jedi, the new Star Wars film. I desperately wanted to like this movie. Episode 7 was a good start for the new trilogy, but this movie feels so wrong. Like, Rogue One, for example, didn't feel like a Star Wars movie, which was good. It was a movie set in the Star Wars universe, but it wasn't a Star Wars, a titular movie. So that was fine. But for something that's going directly under the Star Wars label as one of the episodic films, Episode 8 is really bad as a Star Wars film. It's really bad as a film, in all honesty. I'm a huge Star Wars fan. I've grown up with watching the entire series since I was probably about 4 or 5 years old. So to see something you love and have spent a long time, a huge part of your life invested in, to see it in the death throes of this movie is really, upsetting. And, I get people might comment on this video and basically be saying, it's a movie, why are you getting so worked up about it? But it's been a huge investment in my life to catch up with, the whole lore. Because it's not just the main sequence movies either. It's the expanded universe, which is now, Legends, and it's non-canon, but it was really good. And the games as well. I've played a hell of a lot of Star Wars games. And I've collected a lot of Star Wars memorabilia over my years. A lot of it has been lost during countless moves and stuff, but I've still got a Darth Vader lightsaber. I've got an old Star Wars A New Hope poster. I've got a mirror downstairs with Darth Vader, and it's signed by Dave Prowse. So I'm a big Star Wars fan. And I'm rambling on a little bit here in this intro because I'm trying to make this intro not very spoilery. I want to gloss over, I want to just slide over the first few points of why I didn't like this film before I go into any spoilers of the film. So to start off with, without spoiling anything, this movie just doesn't work. Episode 7 ends with all these plot lines that can be really expanded on, and a lot of them are just dropped in this episode. A lot of them are dropped in The Last Jedi, and it really infuriates me because a lot of the plot lines that were built up to have this huge reveal that could have gone amazingly, they were all just dropped. So that's one issue that I have with this movie. The other couple of issues, without going into spoilers just yet, subplots. The subplots for this movie, one of them in particular, the big subplot, you could remove that from the film. You could remove that whole chunk of that subplot. You'd shorten the film significantly, and you wouldn't have lost anything for it. It's not needed. It's really not needed. They could have, bypassed it by maybe slimming it down so it's only a tiny chunk of what's happening. But in the end, that subplot does not matter to the movie. I keep looking down here because I got some notes, because I'm not very good at remembering things. So yeah, there's that. The humour as well. Now, episode 7 had its fair share of humour, good and bad. And, episode 7 was a light movie. It was meant to be the intro into this brand new trilogy of Star Wars movies. And that was the nice little entry point. It gets you used to the typical Star Wars humour. Some bits are a little in your face and over the top in 7. But on the whole, it wasn't that bad. This movie was meant to be a darker movie. It was meant to be, it was meant to have a darker undertone to it, and almost every scene has some stupid little one-lining quip or a ridiculous slapstick comedy moment that really doesn't fit well with the tone of this movie, and it's just really in your face. I think I laughed once during the entire movie, and that was just because of the sheer unexpectedness of what happened. It was kind of a that was, I want to die. So the next bit I'm gonna go on is the pacing as well. It's a really slow movie. It's 157 minutes, I think. And throughout most of that, you kind of sat there in your chair at the cinema and you kind of like, so when's this going to end? When's the action happening? When do we get to see the cool bits? When, And it's just like that through the entire movie. It just drags and drags and drags, and suddenly it'll speed up, and then it goes back down to dragging and dragging, needless subplots and in-your-face humour, and you just sat there. And it's not a fun movie to watch. It just drags. It really drags. And I hate movies like that. I hate movies that drag, because you just sit there throughout the entire thing and you're like, when's this gonna start? It was exactly the same with the new Fantastic Four movie. I sat and I watched that entire movie, and I was waiting for the action. I was waiting for the movie to kick up a gear and start, and then the credits rolled, and I was left thoroughly disappointed. And I wasn't even a fan of Fantastic Four, but that movie left me disappointed because I knew the potential Fantastic Four had, and I knew what they could have been because I'd read a few of the comics and stuff. But by no means was I a fan, but I still left disappointed. So you can imagine how I feel after leaving The Last Jedi. So, what we're going to talk about now is we're going to move into the spoilers. So, fancy effect and spoilers, and go away if you don't want it spoiled. So, the abandoned storylines that we had in this movie, we had Rey's parentage. It wasn't really abandoned, but it was shot down. There was this whole mystery to who Rey's parents were, and in a couple of scenes in The Force Awakens, you can hear Alec Guinness and Ewan McGregor say Rey, and that kind of hinted towards maybe she was a Kenobi. That would have been fucking cool. And in this movie, Kylo Ren just turns around to her and says, oh, your parents were junkers. They sold you for drinking money. And there's no payoff to the build-up. And I get where they're coming from on it. I really do. And I get the whole, you're not coming from greatness. Greatness can come from nothing. And I get that. That's fine. But there was such a build-up to Rey's parentage that this really fell flat. Another one that this ties into another point that I've got down on my paper here. Snoke. So in The Force Awakens, when you first meet Snoke in that film, if I remember correctly, a few bars from the theme that plays in Episode 3 when Darth Sidious is talking to Anakin about Darth Plagueis. A couple of bars of that theme play when you're first introduced to Snoke, and it's like, could he be Plagueis? Could he be this fucking massive, powerful Sith Lord from way back? Could he be that? And then nothing's revealed in this film. He dies like a bitch. He's like, in the film, he shows off his powers and he's ridiculously powerful. He mind links Kylo Ren and Rey, and that's never really been seen before, and it's a phenomenal force power, and it proves that he's really powerful as a force user, and he's able to, Rey goes to pull the lightsaber from next to Snoke because he's got it sat down next to him, and she pulls it towards herself, and without moving, Snoke just kind of makes it fly right round her head and smacks it back in the side of her head and goes back to him. And he didn't even move to do that. You see a couple of scenes later, Kylo Ren and Rey both using Force pull to battle for Luke's old lightsaber. And the amount of force that they're having to put in the amount of energy they're having to put into it, though, is ridiculous. It splits the lightsaber in half. It just, and the crystals all exposed, and it looks cool as shit. But yeah, he doesn't even move when he's taking the lightsaber from Rey, which shows that he's ridiculously powerful. That and the mind link thing as well. He also uses Force Lightning on Kylo, and he does a short burst, and it blasts Kylo across the room. And it's like, this guy's ridiculously powerful. And he mentions in The Force Awakens seeing the rise and fall of the Empire. So we know he's at least 50 years old at this point. And on its own, that kind of begs the question then, who was Snoke? How did he go under the radar this whole time? Yeah, the Jedi weren't really aware, and that's how Sidious rose into power and stuff. But surely Sidious would have been aware of another ridiculously powerful Force user. How did he rise to the top of the First Order? Did he fund the First Order? Did he create the First Order? There's so much there that could have been explored. It was all wasted away because he gets cut in half like a bitch by Kylo Ren because he doesn't read Kylo's mind properly, and Kylo ignites the lightsaber next to him, cuts him in half, and it's kind of, again, falls really flat. So what else have we got on this fucking long list? This is going to be a long-ass video. Subplots. Let's move on to subplots. So, the one big subplot in this entire fucking movie is the casino heist thing. And, yeah, that's a waste of time. They find a code breaker, and it's Benicio del Toro. His character's cool, DJ. He's pretty fucking cool. But you can smell the betrayal a mile off with him. Yeah, that whole casino subplot takes up maybe half an hour to 40 minutes of the runtime, and they achieve nothing in the end. He betrays them, they don't get the codes, they don't save the rebellion the way they'd planned. Nothing of use comes from that subplot. It feels really out of place. It's really jarring. It feels like the director kind of had an idea for another movie and accidentally copy and pasted it into this one. It feels quite Guardians of the Galaxy. Guardians of the Galaxy-esque. Got there in the end. But it's really out of place in a Star Wars movie. So that was a big gripe for me. I've already touched on the over-the-top humour, and like I said before, it's in your face. It's almost every single scene. Every scene has a really ridiculous quip. I mean, you've got a scene where Finn and Captain Phasma are fighting, and, you know, Finn crosses his baton with her stick, I guess. She's just got a big fucking metal pole, and she says something she says you're a bug in the system, and then he turns around and goes, bring it, Chrome Dome. And you kind of sat there and you're like, I just want to fucking end it all. The humour's really out of place. Like I said, there was one place that got a chuckle out of me, and that was seeing a Pog get injured or get hurt, and it's in the Millennium Falcon during sort of the trench run crystal cave scene where they're on the salt planet, and the Millennium Falcon sort of tilts that way and a Pog smashes into the window. And I got a chuckle out of that because I fucking can't stand the Pogs, because they're clearly just a marketing ploy, and that brings me on to Pogs. They're annoying. They're in quite a lot of scenes, especially the scenes with Luke and Rey. They're all on the island. They're definitely just there as a marketing thing. You know, kids are gonna fucking love these little cuddly creatures. And it's really fucking annoying because you hear it in the background of a lot of scenes, and it just really grates on you. This has slowly brought me on to a really, really out of place scene. It's that Leia scene. That one. You know the one. If you've seen the movie, you know the one I'm talking about. If you genuinely enjoyed that scene, I would probably go and get tested for mental retard. It was horrible. Basically, Kylo is in his TIE Superior or whatever custom TIE he has, and he has his finger like on the button ready to fire. He's like, oh, that's my mum in that bridge. And then he decides not to fire. And it's cool. That's pretty cool because it shows the conflict in Kylo Ren. And I didn't mind that so much. Then 2 TIE fighters swoop down from behind him and blow up the bridge anyway. Shows he's got no power he's got no control of the situation. That was fucking good. That was good. Good writing there. Good job. But yeah, then Princess Leia gets sucked out of the bridge because the lack of the vacuum, you know, what have you. And you see her sort of floating in space, and she's got her eyes closed and her hands like this, and then all of a sudden you just see her hand start going like that. And then she goes, oh, and her eyes open, and she uses the Force to pull herself all the way back to the ship. But it's done so badly. It looks like, you know, old films like Mary Poppins and stuff where any flying, it was done on strings and were just hoisted around, and it just looks like they're sort of floating and they're not really part of the scene. That's exactly what it was like. It looked fucking terrible. The effects were horrible. They save Princess Leia there. She doesn't die in the movie at all, which is a bit of an issue because obviously Carrie Fisher is no longer with us. So what are they going to do with the next movie? That would have been the perfect send-off for Carrie Fisher as well. Just having her, having Kylo in that situation where he has the choice of killing her or not killing her, and he chooses not to, and it doesn't matter anyway because she gets killed anyway. That would have been amazing. That would have really shown, they could have killed her off and it should have shown the struggles between Kylo, between the dark and the light in him, and I'd have wrote it so that he gets, really fucked off at the First Order at that point, and then that's his turning point, and that would have been really good. But no, they kept Princess Leia alive, and now they're kind of fucked for the next movie. You get to see some alien nipples. Yeah, Luke milks a big fucking space giraffe thing. It's like a fucking giraffe whale or something. It's got a big long fucking head, and it's got some blowholes, and it just... And it zooms into this creature sat on the cliff, and he's kind of, like me, it's kind of overweight, and just kind of lounging about. Realistically, it's just lounging there waiting for someone to milk it. But he sat there, he's got like 4 tits, and Luke comes along, Rey's watching, and he just sort of starts squeezing the tits and getting this green milk, and then he's drinking it right there and then. And that felt a bit out of place as well. I know Star Wars has this getting into the day-to-day activities of things in the universe, and it makes it all look like it's meant to be there and part of the universe, but this felt really off. It's also a really apt analogy for what Disney's doing with Star Wars, the whole milking. Snoke, again, we touched on Snoke earlier. He's completely fucking useless in this film. He dies very easily. The whole mystery behind him is still there. Nothing was answered, and it's probably not going to get answered unless it's in a book. But the majority of people that are watching the film, and there'll be some of those people there that do want to know who Snoke is, but they're not huge fans of Star Wars, they're not going to go out and buy a book and read it. They just killed him. I wish they'd done that to me. So we'll move on to the good parts of the film now, and you can see the good parts are a bit shorter than the bad parts of this movie. There's a really cool scene around 2 hours in where Admiral Holder, whatever the fuck she's called, the girl with purple hair, she uses her transport ship. She turns it towards I think it's Snoke's big destroyer. She turns it towards it, and she just fucking hits light speed and goes straight through the side of one of these destroyers, and it goes silent. The movie goes silent, and you see it just split through, and it splits apart, and then the other ones get all destroyed by the debris and stuff in silence. My God, was that an amazing scene. Using a ship as a light-speed bullet, that is cool as fuck. And I saw online somebody asking, well, why would they not just do this all the time? If they can use light speed to pierce through these ships, why don't they do it all the time? It's because these transport ships are quite expensive. They need a person to pilot them. You're not always going to have a person willing to sacrifice themselves in that situation. And they can't use a droid-controlled smaller ship like an X-Wing or a Y-Wing or something, because we've seen them crash into Star Destroyers and stuff, and they do absolutely no damage. So that's why. That's why they don't do it all the time. It's a one-time thing. Look cool as fuck. With this film, you just got to take what you can get, take that and run with it. Just hold that in your heart. That was a cool scene. Don't let it go. Another really good part about this film, the throne room fight. Just after Kylo Ren kills Snoke, you see Rey and Kylo team up and they take down the Praetorian Guard, and it's a fantastically choreographed scene. The fight is amazing. You really get a sense of Kylo Ren's style and Rey learning at the same time, because Kylo Ren, he's a very heavy hitter. There's not really any of this graceful twirling around that you see a lot in the prequels, which I wasn't too fussed about. I know a lot of people don't like the over-telegraphed and over-choreographed fights, but, I quite like them. It's fun to watch. Yeah, you get a sense of Kylo Ren, he's unstable, and he wants to make sure that his hits are landing, so he goes in with these really heavy, long, broad strokes. And it looks really cool. And you also get a sense of Rey. She's just learning. There's a part where she gets knocked down by one of the Praetorian Guards, and she gets back up and she sort of stumbles, and she's just kind of wildly swinging. And you see that she's not trained, but Kylo has been trained. She got trained by Luke. And that was a really cool scene. All in all, it's a really fucking cool scene. It's one of the only good things this film's got going for it. Yoda makes an appearance, and it was really nice to see Yoda in a Star Wars film again, especially appearing to Luke. It was really cool. They used the old puppet and everything, so they used the old puppet and the old voice for Yoda, so he's got that really mischievous sort of the giggling and the happiness. And it was really cool to see Yoda, especially in his final form. That was a really nice thing to see. The one thing I didn't like about it, though, is they've kind of changed how Force Ghosts work. Apparently he's now a corporeal being. He can hit Luke with his walking stick, and he can also use his Force powers because he calls down lightning to burn the tree where the ancient Jedi books are stored, only they're not because Rey took them onto the Millennium Falcon. But Luke didn't know that, and he was going to burn the tree down anyway. So yeah, they've changed how Force Ghosts work, and that kind of begs the question then, if Force Ghosts can now do this, why not just kind of have Luke, Yoda, Anakin, and Obi-Wan as Force Ghosts show up and just fucking pummel the First Order into the ground? They can't be touched, but they can apparently fucking hit other people. So you got an OP army of 4 Force Ghosts. Why don't all the fucking Force sensitives in the universe just fucking kill themselves and become Force Ghosts? See, kids, suicide is the way. The last really good part of this film, Adam Driver, man, he carries this film. Kylo Ren is a phenomenally cool character. Yeah, he comes across as a little whiny emo child, but you get this real sense of turmoil in him. You can tell he's really split between the light and the dark side. Adam Driver portrays this perfectly. He does a really, really good job. And you can tell in some parts where he's really swinging into the dark side there, and he loses all control, and he's just letting his emotions drive him. The scene where he's firing, all the guns are firing on Luke on the Salt Planet, and Luke is just soaking it up because he's a projection. I'll go into that in a minute, actually. And he's just screaming, "More! More!" And they're still firing on him, and he's just losing all control. And it's really cool because you get to see the the dark side really come out in him, and he's just emotionally driven. Adam Driver, well done. You fantastic performance as Kylo Ren. I have no doubt that you're probably the best thing about this new trilogy. Probably the best thing that's happened to Star Wars since a very long time. So Luke, yeah, that was a disappointment. Luke doesn't act how Luke should act, or at least how we think he should act. He's obviously become a bitter old hermit, and he hides out on his fucking island, and he just went there to die. His death is really unsatisfying. He projects himself using the Force, which this one doesn't make any fucking sense. He projects himself to fight Kylo and does all this fucking Matrix shit where he's bending over backwards and the lightsaber goes over his face and misses him and stuff. And, you know, it's cool to see Luke on form, and they really sort of, they get in there and they tickle your balls, and they're like, oh, look what we're doing, it's OP Grandmaster Luke from Legends, oh yeah, you like your balls being tickled. And then he disappears, and he's actually just fucking on his rock, on his island, meditating, using force projection. And apparently he uses it too much because he fucking dies from stress. I don't really have a lot more to say about this movie. I'm incredibly disappointed. I'll do that again. I don't have a lot more to say about this movie. I'm incredibly disappointed. I don't know how they're going to clean it up with episode 9. I don't think they can clean it up with episode 9. Man, am I really dreading this. So yeah, tell me what you think. Tell me what you thought about this movie. Point me out if you think I'm wrong. I'll quite happily argue with anyone about anything. So yeah, if you managed to struggle through this fucking video, I applaud you. If you'd like to see more shitty movie reviews done in my bedroom, really off the cuff and horribly, then give me a good old thumbs up and fucking subscribe. Kill me.